Hello ladies and gentlemen. We now have an official release date for Owlcat Games CRPG Pathfinder Kingmaker, September 25th. So about a couple of months away, and not this summer as it was originally advertised, but that's okay, as long as they can make the game good. In case you have not heard or seen the game before, I have made 3 videos of the beta version, showing you the character creation and its options in the beta, what's the story, and how it looks and plays. But to sum up the story and setting quickly, the player character is going for an expedition to the lawless and dangerous Stolen Lands to establish his or her own barony that will eventually grow into a kingdom, and the player can rule it as a just and benevolent ruler or a cruel tyrant. The game is based on Paizo Publishing's very popular Pathfinder tabletop role-playing game, and more specifically one of its campaigns called the Kingmaker. I found the game and its setting so interesting that I even nominated it as one of my 5 most anticipated games of 2018. Now, originally I was planning to let you vote between Pathfinder Kingmaker and Pillars of Eternity 2 Deathfire, which came out a couple of months ago. But after thinking about it some more, I decided to play Kingmaker first because 1. I'm most likely going to play Kingmaker more than once, like I have played Tyranny twice by now and plan to return to it in the future. And secondly, Kingmaker is going to be a shorter game than Pillars of Eternity. I heard that the game is estimated to be about 40 hours long, which is about the same length as Tyranny, without the Bastard's Wound expansion. Or DLC rather. So Kingmaker, especially on normal difficulty, which I'm going to start with, is not going to be that long CRPG Let's Play. I'm also going to play it more than just once a week, so that it won't take me 6-7 months to finish the playthrough. But I still wanted to get you guys more involved to this upcoming Pathfinder Kingmaker Let's Play, so in this video you get to vote for the first character I'll be playing in my blind playthrough of the game. I'll present you 3 character candidates I'm most interested in to play as in Kingmaker. I'll tell you their classes, playstyle and role in their party, their alignment and overall personality, and my general goals for their kingdoms. So, without further ado, here are the candidates. Our first candidate is a barbarian. And bear in mind that I haven't decided on the names of any of these characters, so those are yet to be decided. You can give me name suggestions down in the comments, but I'm most likely going to make up the names myself. So anyway, the first character candidate is a barbarian, half-orc barbarian, a mad dog barbarian to be more specific. And in case you're wondering that what that mad dog means, well, mad dog is barbarian archetype. Each character is going to have 2 to 4 different archetypes you can play as. I think I called them as subclasses in my Let's Check Out the Pathfinder Kingmaker beta videos, but they are called archetypes. And the reason why I picked Mad Dog archetype for Barbarian is because Mad Dog Barbarians have an animal companion. What I don't know is that can I decide that which animal companion I'm going to have? The beta didn't give us any options really, we could only have a wolf with us, but we'll see about that. I don't care too much which animal companion we have. Wolf works just fine. Bear would be cool as well, but hey, we'll see what the options the game will give us when the full game is finally out. And the barbarian is the only one of the 3 character candidates whose gender I haven't decided either. I just couldn't decide whether I'm going to place the barbarian as a male or female. So as a little bonus, I'll let you guys vote on the gender of the barbarian as well. You can vote for the half-orc barbarian's gender, whether you vote for the barbarian character itself or not. Then let's talk about her personality a little bit. So she's going to be chaotic neutral with my way or the highway kind of attitude. So he or she, well let's just call her a she because there is a female barbarian here on the screen right now. And speaking about this female barbarian you see right now, she is actually going to be one of our possible companions we can have in Pathfinder Kingmaker. And we actually did some interaction with her in the beta, and her name is Amiri, and I believe that she's one of the original characters from the tabletop game as well, so if you have played the tabletop version of Pathfinder, you should be familiar with her I think. And our barbarian character is going to be very similar to Amiri, so we are going to get along with Amiri just fine I think. So anyway, where was I? Chaotic neutral and my way or the highway kind of attitude. And as a barbarian she glorifies battle, of course, and admires strength, is barbaric, well duh, of course she is, and merciless to her enemies, so she won't be taking any prisoners really, and she doesn't back away from a fight either. But she's not going to be very smart either, so she will have rather low intelligence, and I would imagine that more cunning characters can manipulate her and trick her quite often. But when she realizes that she's been had, she's going to hunt them down and take her revenge on them. so she's very hot-headed and thus rather easy to anger. Very typical for barbarians, I would say. As for her role in the party, she's going to be frontline fighter / DPS who jumps into the midst of her enemies, swinging her swords and axes around trying to hit as many enemies around her as possible, and of course she's going to flank with her animal companion. As for the gods, she's a worshipper of Gorum, which is the exact same god Amiri worships if I recall correctly, and Gorum is a god of battle. And as for my plans for the kingdom as a barbarian, the barbarian is going to focus on aggressive expansion and domination, forcing the weaker people of the Stolen Lands to bow before her, and she rules with an iron fist. She's going to be undiplomatic, so negotiating with her is going to be a challenge. And overall, I'll try to establish a warrior kind of nation where the strongest rule, our barbarian being the king or queen of all barbarians. So that's it for the barbarian. Our second character candidate is Arcane Trickster, who is going to be a male halfling. And in case you don't know what Arcane Tricksters are, well, Arcane Tricksters are basically rogue and wizard hybrid class. Actually, let me read the short summary of the Arcane Trickster class on Pathfinder Wiki. So, Arcane Tricksters seek to meld the arts of thievery and subterfuge with the arcane, able to manipulate objects, disarm traps, and pick locks and pockets from a distance. Arcane Tricksters focus on the less conspicuous elements of magic and enhance their often less than legal pursuits, and to me foes more through humiliation than domination. So those are Arcane Tricksters, and normally I'm not a big fan of spellcasters like mages, wizards, warlocks, etc., but I do like rogues a lot, and Arcane Tricksters sounds very, very interesting to me. So I thought that, you know what, let's try out the Arcane Trickster. In my Let's Check Out the Pathfinder Kingmaker beta, the character creation video, even though the Arcane Trickster class was visible in the long class selection list, we couldn't actually click on it and read more about it because apparently the Arcane Trickster class was not added to the beta version anyway. And last time I checked, the Arcane Trickster class is still not available in the beta version of the game, so we couldn't read and study the class more in the actual game. But anyway, back to the character. So this Arcane Trickster is going to be a male halfling, and he's going to be neutral evil, meaning that he's greedy, selfish, deceptive, and steals from others, and doesn't hold any loyalty to any organizations or people, and doesn't respect the law. And actually Arcane Tricksters cannot be lawful characters of any kind because, well, they don't respect the law and they are thieves. Our Arcane Trickster is also going to be very different from the Barbarian because, unlike the Barbarian, we avoid conflicts whenever possible, and because we are rogues, we are going to be sneaky as well. And we are going to use arcane, magics and stealth and try to combine those arts, of course, like I just briefly mentioned there earlier. I don't know what kind of spells Arcane Tricksters are going to have. I could have gone to read more about them and how they work in a tabletop role-playing game and what spells they have at their disposal, but I decided not to do that, because I'm not exactly sure whether Arcane Tricksters in Pathfinder Kingmaker are going to play exactly the same as in the tabletop role-playing game, and whether they have the same spells. But I would imagine that the Arcane Tricksters have spells like teleport, maybe they can turn themselves invisible, maybe they can cast mirror images of themselves so they can fool their enemies, and they should be able to pick locks and pockets from a fair distance away by using arcane magics, just like this female halfling Arcane Trickster is doing on the screen right now. That actually looks rather neat. As for our role in the party, I am trying to build Arcane Trickster as your more typical rogue with high burst damage but weak defenses. So my strategy idea for this character in combat situations is that the Arcane Trickster uses stealth or invisibility or whatever tools we have at the moment to sneak past or through the enemy front lines and go to the back line to backstab physically weaker targets like say archers, wizards, healers, etc. and try to kill them as fast as we can. So we assassinate our weaker targets fast and then go back to stealth or invisibility or just run away or something like that. So kill and run kind of playstyle for this character. I don't know whether this kind of playstyle is going to be very viable for Arcane Tricksters. I believe that this kind of playstyle would be more viable with a regular rogue, but we'll see about that. Let's just give it a shot and see how it goes. Plus, I am going to play the game on normal difficulty, so the game shouldn't be too punishing anyway. Oh, by the way, and as you may have noticed, I haven't named any archetypes for this character, and that's because I don't know if the Arcane Trickster is going to have any archetypes, because we couldn't read about the Arcane Trickster in the beta. So I don't know if Arcane Trickster is going to have any archetypes, but if the class is going to have some archetypes, I try to pick the one that complements our playstyle. And as you may have noticed, this Arcane Trickster doesn't follow or worship any gods or goddesses or any other deities. Even though after doing some research on the different deities of Pathfinder universe, there is at least one, possibly two gods that thieves, rogues and assassins worship and such. But I decided to make this character rather unreligious, I guess you could say. Meaning that he doesn't pray to or worship any deities and just creates his own luck basically. He doesn't simply care about stuff like that. All he cares about is filling up his wallet. And as for his kingdom, the Arcane Trickster is going to focus more on his own wealth rather than the entire kingdoms. He's going to explore the stolen lands and loot all the treasures that he can find, and he's going to focus on high taxation. Imagine the Sheriff of Nottingham character from Robin Hood tales. That is the kind of character that our Arcane Trickster is going to be. And I'm planning to make his kingdom a safe haven for thieves and rogues. Imagine him as the King of Thieves. That sounds pretty damn cool if you ask me. And because of that, of course, corruption in the kingdom blooms. So basically our Arcane Trickster is not going to be any better than the Stag Lord whom we have to deal with in the first act of the game. And the Stag Lord is basically a big bandit lord that collects high taxes from the settlers who have settled in the stolen lands. And in the first act of the game we have to deal with the Stag Lord before we can establish our own barony. So we are just going to replace the Stag Lord and, well, we're not going to be any better ruler for the people of the stolen lands. So that's my Arcane Trickster character. Now, let's move to the third and last character candidate. And lastly we have a cleric. Female gnome crusader cleric to be more specific. And truth to be told folks, I don't remember what the crusader archetype really gave us or what the crusader archetype is really about. I just chose the Crusader archetype simply because I think it fits this character the best, considering her goals for the stolen lands. So this character is going to be lawful neutral, represents devotion to law and authority. She is honest, just, and punishes the guilty as both judge and executioner. She is a steadfast follower of Abadar, god of cities, law and wealth, and merchants too if I remember correctly. And she's going to be the main healer and support of her party. I was actually having a very hard time deciding whether I should play as a paladin or cleric, but I decided to go for the cleric in the end, because clerics are usually better healers and supports than paladins. Paladins focus more on the actual combat, even though they also can do some healing, but clerics are the main healers really, so that's why I decided to go for the cleric. And as for the clerics and her kingdom's goals, she's basically on a personal crusade to expand civilization and order to the lawless stolen lands, and spread Abadar's ideals amongst its peoples. The kingdom is going to focus on wealth, trade, justice system, and securing the kingdom from both inner and outer threats, and weeds out the corruption and anarchy. Although she can take her fervor too far, or at least I find that idea very interesting. Maybe the cleric can become a bit zealous once in a while and take things a bit too far in order to spread and establish law and order to the stolen lands, but we'll see about that. But I do find the idea that as the time goes on and the more power she gains as her kingdom grows, she becomes more zealous. And so, that was the cleric. And there you go folks. Those were your 3 character candidates for you to vote for. A barbarian, arcane trickster, and cleric. Which one of the 3 you want to watch me play first on my blind playthrough of Pathfinder Kingmaker? You can find the link to the poll under the description below. The poll will be open until the game is released on September 25th, so the winner will be announced in the first episode, the character creation video of the Let's Play. So, that's all from me for now. I'm very interested to see which character you're going to vote for. So, until next time, and happy voting!